In this lecture, I am going to implement authentication in Laravel with Laravel UI package. So let's create a new Laravel project. I am going to create the project inside this XAMPP tutorial folder. Let's open a new terminal from this folder, and then I'll create the project with the help of Composer. So I'll run this command from this folder, and our project name will be Laravel-UI-auth. This will take some time to install the packages, so I'll pause the video and I'll get back to after some times. So all the packages successfully installed. Now let's navigate to our project folder from the terminal, and then let's open the project folder in the code editor. I am using Sublime Text. So our project is under C drive and then XAMPP htdocs tutorial folder. Here is our project folder. Let's open this folder, and then let's create a new database for the project. I am creating a new database called Laravel-UI-auth, and after creating the database, I will provide the database credentials in a .nb file. My database name is Laravel-UI-auth, username is root and password is blank. Save this file, and then from our project root, I'm gonna run php serve command to run our project in local development server. You see our project is running on localhost 8004. Just copy this URL and paste this in the browser. So our project is running on this port successfully. Right now we don't have any login and registration link inside our home page. So to get login and registration scaffolding, we'll use Laravel UI package. So from our project root, I'll open a new terminal, and then I'll install Laravel UI package. So we need to run composer require and then our package name. Our package name is Laravel/UI. So this will install Laravel UI package in our project. So after installing Laravel UI package, we need to run php addition. Okay, it is taking some time, so let's pause the video. I'll get back to you after some time. So Laravel UI package successfully installed. Now to get the authentication scaffolding, we need to run php addition UI, and then I'm going to choose Bootstrap. You can choose Vue or Bootstrap for authentication scaffolding. So let's provide Bootstrap here, and then --auth. This will create the authentication scaffolding, and you see there is a warning that please run npm install and npm run dev to compile your first scaffolding. Before that, let's check our web page URL now. You see we have this login and registration link here, and we can navigate to this login URL and we can navigate to our registration URL. But the design is not good for login and registration form. So there is a warning that showing please run npm install and npm run dev command. What this will do actually? If I check our project folder, you see there is a file called webpack.mix.js, and in this file it is defined that all the JS code from this resources.js/app.js file will compile to this public/js folder, and then under a file called app.js. That means if we run npm install and npm run dev, this will install all the packages which is defined inside this package.json file, and this will compile all the assets from this resources.js and app.js file to our public, and under this public folder it will generate a new folder called js, and under this js folder it will create a new file called app.js, and similarly this will compile all the CSS code from this app.scss which is under resources CSS folder, and this will compile all the CSS code to our public/CSS file. Okay, so let's try to run this command from our project root, npm install and npm run dev. this will take some time, so let's pause the video and I will come back to you after some times. So all the assets are compiled now. Let's check our public folder now. You see, we don't have any folder called JS and we don't have any folder called CSS. So we should have a folder called CSS and we should have a folder called JS inside this public folder, because we already ran npm install and npm run dev command. But I don't know in Laravel 8 with the Laravel UI package, this CSS folder and JS folder which is mentioned inside this webpack.make.js file, it is not generating. So let's check what we get with the help of Laravel UI package. So with the help of Laravel UI package, we got auth routes inside our web.php file and we got this home route. Okay, and inside this app http controllers folder, we got all the authentications controller inside this auth folder, and we have lots of views file inside this resources views folder. Inside this auth folder, we have all the views files for login, registration and forget password pages, and we have this main layout inside this layouts folder called app.bed.php file. Now if I refresh our web page and if I navigate to this login page, you see we have this login form, but the design is not good because we need to include bootstrap inside this app.bed.php file, because our login.bed.php file is extending our main layout. So we need to include bootstrap inside this app layout file. So from here we can get bootstrap CSS file. So let's go to getbootstrap.com from Google, and you can download bootstrap library from here, or you can provide bootstrap CSS CDN. So let's copy this CDN from here and then let's provide the CDN inside our app.bed.php file, which is our main layout file, and then let's also provide the JS file CDN inside this main layout file. Now if I refresh our login form, you will see beautiful login form, you see, and if I navigate to this register link, you see we have this beautiful registration form. So now our registration functionalities will not work because we have database but we don't have any tables inside our database, because we have migrations file which are provided by Laravel by default under this database migrations folder, but we need to run this migrations file, right, to get the tables from migrations files. So to run migrations file, we need to run php address and migrate command from our project root, and this will run all the migrations file and it will generate tables inside our database. You see I already provided database credentials in our .env file. So let's check. Yeah, all the migrations file successfully run. So let's check our database now. You see we have users table. Now we can register a user. So let's try to register a user. So registration successful. Now if I check our users table, you see we have a new record inside our users table. Now let's check how registration is working. So we have these auth routes inside our web.php file, right, and our registration URL is calling registration controllers. So let's open this register controller. It is calling register controllers, Okay, the view is not defined here. So when we are clicking on this register button, I mean when we are clicking on the register button, this was calling this validator method. Here all the validation logics for our registration form fields mentioned. You see, we have validation rules for name, email and password field, and when we are submitting the form with valid details, then it is creating the record with the help of user model. You see, we provided all the details here. So if you want to add any other field inside your registration form, you can add a new column to our users table. You can add a new column to your users table, and then you need to add the column inside your registration form, which is under resources views auth folder. So here is the registration form. You can add the new field here, and then you need to add the validation logics. If you want to add validations for the new field, you can add the validation logics here, and then you can store the data inside this create method. This is the complete flow for our registration. So you see there is a protected property called redirect to. So after registration, if you want to redirect the user to any other specific URL than this home URL, you can mention that inside this route service provider. You see, inside this route service provider, we have this constant property called home. So the URL is defined here. After registration, where the user will redirect is defined here. So you can modify the link here after registration. Now let's check our login functionalities. So let's log out for this user, and then let's try to log in the user. So I don't know why it's taking some time. Yeah, now let's go to login page, and then let's try to log in with this user. So this should work properly. Yeah, login is also working. Now let's check our login functionalities. So similarly, we have login.bed.php file here for our login form, which is extending our main layout, and we have these login form fields here, and it is calling this login controller. And you see, we have this authentication user trait here, where all the logics defined for authentications. So we have the logic inside this login method, and we have the validation rules here, and after successful login, we are redirecting the user to this redirect to URL, which is also defined inside our route service provider, which I already opened during registration. You see, we have this home property here, where we store the redirect URL after successfully login. So you can modify this link as per your choice. So our login and registration functionality is also working. Now if you want to check the forget password functionalities, you can check that. For this, what you need to do, you need to provide mail SMTP details inside your .env file. So you need to provide mail SMTP details, because forget password functionality will need your mail SMTP details to send the email to the user. That's why you need to provide SMTP details here for checking forget password functionalities. You do not need to worry about this, because if you provide SMTP details here, proper SMTP details here, your forget password functionality will also be working. So this is how LARAVEL UI package provides us authentication scaffolding. So this is very helpful for project starter. So that's it for LARAVEL UI package authentication.